Alrighty, so here we are, Assessment 2.2 review. If my guesses are correct, I've been desperate to try to keep you all distracted and keep you all engaged because I over-prepared you for the first unit test like I did last unit. So now, until I can get to Assessment 2 and 3, I'm kind of just throwing the same problems at you over and over again, and you're getting better at them, which is great, but that means that you're getting done with them faster, and yeah. But anyway, if you're watching this, thankfully, that means that we are the day before Assessment 2.2. There really isn't that much, there isn't any new information that I can give you. So what we're basically going to do is review the worksheet called Escalation. There's a story behind that, don't worry about it. But it's going to be the 2.2 review. It's going to look like parallel lines and traversals, but it should be under Canvas as 2.2 review. So, first one is identify each pair of angles as corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior, or consecutive interior. So we've got 4 different options available to us. All right. For the sake of expediency, I'm going to assume that all of the lines are parallel even though I don't mark it. I just want to, work through these here. So Y and X. All right, so what kind of angles are these? Well, Y is occupying the northeast position of the traversal on the upper parallel line. If I go down to the second parallel line, X is in the same position. So these are going to be corresponding angles. So the answer to number 1, corresponding. There we go, we'll do it up here. That's short for corresponding. All right, number 2. All right, we have our 2 parallel lines, we have our traversal. But what we have is, when we have our 2 parallel lines, whenever we do that, we have interior defined, but we also have exterior defined. So this first angle is definitely exterior. The second angle is on the other side of the traversal, but it is also exterior. So that means that it is going to be an alternate exterior angle. So that is what the answer is going to be. And so far, if all of these are parallel, and so far with the relationships we have, if these 2 lines are parallel, which we're assuming they are, then corresponding and alternate exterior angles are congruent. Or they're equal to each other. All right. So number 3. Well, again, they're on the X. One of them's interior, one of them's exterior. So we can't really go off of that. So what I do is I look at the traversal, and Y is in the southeast part of the traversal on the top line. When I go to the bottom line with the intersection, X is in the southeast corner also. So these are going to be corresponding angles. All right, 4. You have to write smaller. 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. And so we're up to 4. All right. So again, when we have parallel lines, anytime you define parallel lines, and again, these are parallel even though they clearly aren't, we're going to treat them as parallel. You define an interior and you're defining an exterior. So both of these are going to be interior angles. But the question is, are they going to be alternate or are they going to be alternate or consecutive? Well, if they're alternate, then you have one on one side of the transversal and the other on the other side. So because these are both on the same side of the traversal within the inside of the parallel lines, they're going to be consecutive interior angles. And again, if you have consecutive interior angles with parallel lines, they are always going to add up to 180. All right, number 5. All right, I've got two parallel lines again, and I've got a traversal. Both of them are on the inside because parallel lines, this is the interior, this is exterior, so they're both interior. I've got one line, I've got one angle Y, and then the first angle that I run into that's also on that's on the other parallel line is on the other side of the traversal. That means that they're going to be alternate interior angles. Because they are alternate interior angles, they are also going to be congruent with our parallel lines. All right, number 6. All right, so with our parallel lines, again, we define the parallel lines with interior and exterior. Both of the lines are exterior. Both of the angles, can't put into words how long this shoot has been. Both of the angles are exterior, so they're both outside the parallel lines. So we start with one, and we move across to the other side of the exterior, and it's on the other side of the traversal. So that means they are alternate angles, and they are alternate exterior angles because they're not inside the parallel lines. So they are alternate exterior angles. All right, number 7. All right, stepping things up with the complexity a little bit. All right, so again, they're stepping it up with the complexity a little bit, but it's really not that complex. We're going to, again, what you start with is you find what the traversal is. The traversal is going to be the line that both of the angles are going to be a part of. Then what you do is you define what the two parallel lines are going to be that you're going to use. I'm going to use the top and the bottom one. I'm going to pretend this middle one doesn't even exist because it doesn't help, it doesn't change anything. It's not going to alter the relationship between these two angles. So that's something to keep in mind, that just because there's a parallel line here, the relationships will still remain, even though the relationships are still going to be there, even though there's this third line here. I'm defining the parallel lines that I'm looking at as the top one and the bottom one all the way across. And so with the traversal, both of these angles are interior as opposed to exterior, and one is on the right-hand side, one is on the left-hand side. So these are also alternate interior angles. The way these assessments usually work is they try to throw in something that appears more complex. But again, all you need to do is spot the traversal, which X and Y are attached to, and then pick two parallel lines. And then once you pick those two parallel lines and you have the traversal, the relationship is very obvious to spot. One is on this side, one's on this side, they're both internal. So even though we've got a second traversal, even though we got a third parallel line, the relationships are still going to be the same. Okay, number 8. Thank goodness. I was afraid they'd wander away from unnecessarily complex. All right. Like I said, I was afraid they'd wander away from unnecessarily complex. Thank goodness that they chose not to do that. All right. So, again, we pick our transversal. The transversal is always going to intersect with the two variables we're looking at. So this is going to be my transversal. Now I'm going to pick two parallel lines. I'm going to pick the top two parallel lines. So when I do that, that defines this as exterior and this as exterior. So they're both going to be exterior angles. So the question is, are they going to be alternate or consecutive? X is on the right-hand side, Y is on the left. Alternate exterior angles. And again, because these are all parallel lines, actually pretty much with the exception of number 4 with the consecutive interior, all of these are angles that are going to be equal to one another, provided you have parallel lines, which we're assuming we already do. All right. So it turns out there's a 9 and a 10. Hopefully that shows up on camera. So, all right. Again, we're assuming that we have parallel lines here. I'm going to say that these are my two parallel lines because they're the only two lines that don't intersect with one another, which means I'm going to make this my transversal. So, if we're looking at the transversal, which side do they appear on? They are going to appear on the same side, so they're going to be consecutive. The question is now, if they're consecutive, are they going to be interior or exterior? Well, if these are my parallel lines, then that means this is exterior, and all the space in between must be interior. So these are going to be consecutive interior lines. And again, with parallel lines, consecutive interior lines are not going to be congruent, but they are going to be supplemental. So these two will add up to 180 with parallel lines and a transversal. All right, number 10. All right. All right. Well, they're trying their best with this one. They're trying their best to throw things off. But the thing is that depending on where you define your parallel lines and your transversal, this is also pretty straightforward. So I'm actually going to do this using a rule that using a mnemonic and a device that I mentioned while we were doing the worksheets in the first week of the class. I'm going to show you that these are corresponding angles, which they are. So I'm going to draw the F on my angle. So start with the traversal. I'm going to draw the F all the way up to the top here. I'm going to make the first tang, the bottom part of the F here. I'm going to make the second part of the F up here. If you'll notice, Y and X are in the same relative positions relative to each of the tangs on my F. That means that they're corresponding angles. Hopefully you can read that. That means that they're corresponding angles, which, because these lines are equal, are also going to be congruent. Wait, because these lines are parallel, the angles are going to be equal. All right. So again, we've got corresponding, alternate exterior, corresponding, consecutive interior, alternate interior, alternate exterior, alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive interior, and then corresponding. So that's the first 10 of the drawings. All right, next one is find the measure of each angle indicated, and okay, looks like I just have 8 of these. So 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. These are the numbers, again, if you have the worksheet and you want to follow along, these are the numbers that we're working off of. So, number 11. Well, in this case, I'm just going to write the answers up next to the number. I'm not going to try to do anything expansive here. So I've got two parallel lines, and I've got two angles on either side of the transversal, and both of the angles are outside of the parallel lines, so that would make them alternate exterior angles. Yes, it would make them alternate exterior angles, and because these are parallel lines, they are parallel lines, we know that these two are going to be equal. So the missing angle for number 11 is going to be 110. All right, number 12. I'll write bigger for the next one, but what I've got are two parallel lines, and then this angle is 84, and then the angle that is also inside the parallel lines, but on the other side of the traversal is the one I'm looking for. Well, I really don't need to look for it. If it's inside the parallel lines, but on the other side of the traversal, that makes them alternate interior angles. These two are alternate interior angles, and because of that, and their parallel lines, I know that they are congruent. So, the missing angle is going to be 84 as well. All right, number 13. There we go. That should be big enough. So with number 13, we have 100 for this angle measurement, and then we're looking for its counterpart on the inside. So these are going to be on the same side of the traversal, so they're going to be consecutive, and they're going to be inside the parallel line. So they're going to be consecutive interior angles. The thing that we know about consecutive interior angles is that they all add up to 180. If these are parallel lines, then this plus this equals 180. Because of that, I've got 100. That means that has to be 80. We did a bunch of these with the worksheet, so hopefully I'm not flying too quickly through this. All right, number 14. Oops. So with number 14, we have two parallel lines. We've got a transversal. So we've got exterior and then interior of the parallel lines. So both of these angles are going to be interior. But we've got one on one side of the traversal, one on the other side of the traversal. So they're going to be alternate interior angles. Because these are parallel, alternate interior angles are all going to be congruent. So the mystery angle up here is going to be the exact same as its counterpart down here. 111. All right, the next drawing actually looks sort of similar to this one, so I'm just going to change the numbers out. You know, I probably should have redrawn this. Because all I did was I literally erased one set of numbers and just wrote new ones. Yeah, they're inside parallel lines, so they're interior, other side of the, I guess the exact same relationship as the previous problem. I just literally erased one set of numbers and replaced them with another. So the missing angle is going to be 125. Because again, they are alternate interior angles. All right, this time I do have to draw a new drawing. All right, get something a little bit different here. So I've got the two parallel lines and I've got the transversal, but I've got two angles that are exterior. So they're going to be exterior. So now I got to figure out whether they're going to be consecutive or alternate. So 47 is on this side of the line. The next angle that I'm looking for is on the other side of the line. Still exterior, but on the alternate side. So they're going to be alternate exterior angles. Because they're alternate exterior angles and these two lines are parallel, that means that they are going to be congruent or equal to one another. All right. It's occurring to me as I record this that these are not going to take you very long to get through, and I probably have more work to do as soon as the new week starts. So, yeah, all right. You know, things come to you at the weirdest times. So 17. All right, with 17, we've got parallel lines, but one of them is interior, one of them is exterior. All right, so it threw us for a little bit of a loop. What could it mean? Right? What are the only angles that can be interior and exterior at the same time? So anyway, we've got 53 here. If we take a look at the traversal and the intersection, 53 is on the southwest part of the traversal. So if I go down the traversal to the other part, to the other parallel line, the southwest side is the angle that I'm looking for. So these are both corresponding angles. Just to prove it, I'm going to draw the little F sign that I showed on the previous, at some point I showed it. So I'm going to draw this all the way up the transversal to the second line. The first little tang goes out this way. Second little tang goes out this way. Because I can draw an F and both of the angles are in the same relative position around the different tangs of the F, that means that they're corresponding. Because they're corresponding with parallel lines, that means that they are equal. So 17 is going to be 53. All right, 18. Again, they are parallel lines, though they don't look like they are. Again, it's been a long shoot. So I've got 113 down here. They're both interior angles. So the question is, are they on the same side or are they on different sides? 113 is on the left, the question mark is on the right, so they are alternate interior angles. Because we know that they are alternate interior angles of parallel lines, that means that they are going to be equal to one another. And there you have it. That is, well, it's not the end, but it's the first page, so I feel like I've accomplished something, finishing the first page here. All right. Got the calculator this time. So we've got solve for x. All right, that's going to give us 6 problems here. So we've got 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I hope these don't stump us. It's not like we've been doing them for the last week and a half, right? All right, so I've got this. All right, that's supposed to be a 21x. So I've got 21x plus 6, and I've got a 90-degree icon there. Well, if I just take a look at this here, I've got parallel lines. This one is definitely 90 degrees. So I know that as 100% is 90 degrees. It's on the outside of the parallel line, so it's an exterior angle. The next exterior angle that I have is on the opposite side of that. So these two are going to be alternate exterior angles. Because we know that these two lines are parallel, that means that this angle and this angle are equal to one another. So that means 90 equals 21x plus 6. I'm going to go through and solve for x with my little calculator here. So 90 minus 6 divided by 21 is going to give me x equals 4. And that's probably our answer. Yeah. So there we go, x equals 4. We recognize the pattern that they are alternate exterior angles, so there we go. Oops, there we go. All right, number 20. Unless otherwise stated, we're just going to assume that all of my parallel lines are going to be parallel, just to speed things along. Alrighty. So we know that this angle is 75. We know that this angle is 11x minus 2. So what does that tell us? Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw my F, which should give you a hint as to what their relationship is. I'm going to go all the way up here I'm going to do the first tang here. I'm going to do the second tang here. And because the angles that I'm looking at are in the same relative position to each of the tangs on the F, that means that they're corresponding angles. Because they're corresponding angles on a set of parallel lines, that means they're equal. Because they're equal, now I can do this. I can set 75 equal to 11x minus 2 because they are. Now, I've got, I probably could have done this one in my head. So this, move the 2 over, becomes 77. 77 equals 11x, x equals 7. All right. All right, I keep forgetting that the camera doesn't pick up small numbers very well. I promise I'll work on it, but if you follow with the worksheet, we're going along pretty well. All right, so I've got two angles. This one here is equal to 60, and I need to find x, and it's part of this angle here. Well, I've got two parallel lines, I've got a traversal, and I've got angles on either side of the traversal inside the parallel lines. That means that they are alternate interior lines. Oh my goodness, alternate interior angles. Because they're alternate interior angles on parallel lines, I know that 8x minus 4 equals 60. As though we haven't done this problem dozens of times before, and thankfully I can do this math in my head. X equals 8. And that is going to be your correct answer for number 21. All right, number 22. All right. So again, so this is number 22. We've got a set of parallel lines, we've got a transversal. So both of these angles are going to be inside the parallel lines, so they're interior. Question is whether or not they are alternating or consecutive at this point. Well, x plus 139 is on the left side of the transversal, 132 is on the right. That means that they are alternate interior angles. Because they're alternate interior angles, that means that we can set them equal to one another. So x plus 139 equals 132. I can already see where this is going. X equals -7. Thank you very much. As I mentioned, angle measurements have to be whole numbers, or they have to be close to whole numbers. They need to be, between 0 and 180. They need to be, you can find supplementary, complementary, etc. But if you're trying to find x, x can be anything. It can be a decimal, it can be a fraction, or it can be a negative number even. So just keep that in mind. When you're looking for angles, you're generally going to look for whole numbers, but if you're looking for x, who knows? All right, number 23. Oh, lovely. All right. So with this one, you have to keep in mind that what we're being asked for. It's an old test taking thing. It's an old test taking trick or test giving trick that teachers will do, and sometimes assessment writers will do, where they'll get you trying to solve the same thing over and over and over again. Then they'll throw you one little twist, and it seems like you can't find the solution for it, or you don't know what the solution is. So in this case, up till now, we've gotten one angle measurement and one x function, but now we've got two x functions. So how are we supposed to figure this out? Well, the thing is, we don't need the angle measurement to figure this out. We're trying to find x. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to say this function containing x equals some other value that we can look at, that we can quantify. So in this case, we're just trying to solve x. We don't need to know the angle measurements. We don't have to know them. We don't care about them. So let's take a look at the relationship of the two functions that we have with x in them. So we've got our two parallel lines defining interior here, exterior here, and here. So they're exterior. Now, are they consecutive exterior or alternate exterior? Well, -1 plus 14x is to the left, 12x plus 17 is to the right. That means they're alternate exterior angles. Because they are alternate exterior angles, we can set them equal to one another. So alternate exterior angles are normally congruent with one another if we have an angle measurement. If we don't have an angle measurement, we just have two functions, we just say that the two functions are equal to one another. And remember, they're asking us to find x. They're not asking us to find an angle measurement. So, I'm going to move these around, so that gives me 2x plus 18. Alrighty, well that, x equals 9. So 2x equals 18. Yeah, alright. X equals 9. Alrighty. Number 24. Alrighty. I already know what the relationship is between these two angles just from doing so many of these problems. But I'm going to illustrate the mnemonic anyway just to kind of show you what I'm looking at. So I'm going to draw my F. Starting at the bottom, moving up the transversal, go all the way up to the second of the parallel lines. First tang goes out this way. It's all very happy. Second tang goes out this way, and the angles in question are on the same relative positions of the tang on each of the tangs. So this means that they are corresponding angles. Because they are corresponding angles on parallel lines, that means that they are equal. And because they are equal, just like with the last problem, we don't need the angle measurement to find x. We just need to be able to say that this function x equals this object, this thing that we can measure and quantify. If it's another function of x, that's fine. If we say this function equals this function, we can solve for x, as we have several times. So 21x plus 5 equals 23x minus 5. All right, so move these over. So 2x equals, all right, 2x equals 10, x equals 5. So just to run through the answers that we found so far, 19 through 24, x equals 4, 20 is x equals 7, 21, x equals 8, 22, x equals -7, thank you for that, 23, x equals 9, and then 24, x equals 5. So yeah, we're doing pretty well so far. Only 4 left. 4 left in the review anyway. All right, this one's a little different. I'm actually kind of impressed by it. So, first one. All right, so the reason that that function has a star next to it is because I have to find the measure of the angle of that particular function. So we did this with the supplementary, I know we did this with the supplementary worksheets where you had to find x based on having two functions, and then once you solved for x, you had to find the angle measurement. And the way that you found the angle measurement was you fed x back into one of the functions that represented the angle measurement. And so you can use angle measurements to find x, or you could use x to find angle measurements. This is going to be one of the latter cases where we use x to find angle measurements. So I already know it's going to be negative, but anyway, x is going to be negative. I just know this already. So what we have are corresponding, because they are on the same side of the traversal. We have two parallel lines, traversal. These two are going to be on the same side, so that means they're not corresponding, consecutive. They're consecutive interior lines. Frankly, if they're consecutive, whether they're interior or exterior, if they're consecutive, they're going to add up to 180. So that means 180 equals x plus 96 plus x plus 96. All right. So what this means is that gives me 2x equals, let's see, 180 minus 96 minus 96, negative 12. X equals negative 6. All right, fine. We've got x equal to negative 6. Now what? Well, like I said, now that we know what the angle, now that we know what x equals, we can feed x back into that angle formula. And we can find what the measure of the angle is. Because keep in mind, this function here is the same function for the measurement of the angle. It's just that instead of a whole number, we just have an x function. And so we don't know what this angle measurement is unless we know what x is. But we know what x is. X equals negative 6. So to find this angle measurement, x plus 96, we're going to replace that. So negative 6 plus 96 equals 90. So yeah. So this angle equals 90. So it seems like a pretty involved process, but basically all we're doing, we're solving for x. We find x, we've done it hundreds of times. Now we're going to use x to find the angle measurement. If this function is right next to this angle, then that means whatever this function equals when we feed in x equals the angle measurement. So let's do 3 more. Okay. Alrighty, again, we've got consecutive angles, whether they're interior or exterior, doesn't matter. Oh, forgot. We're looking for this one. So again, we've got 2 consecutive angles. Whether they're interior or exterior, it doesn't matter. What it means is that they are both, when you add them both up, they equal 180. So 180 equals 20x plus 5 plus 24x minus 1. All right. So minus 1 plus 5 equals positive 4. 180 minus 4. So 176 equals 20 plus 24 equals 44. X. All right. So all I did was I combined terms, did a little bit of algebra, divided by 44. Isn't it? So x is going to equal 4. All right. So now that I've solved for x, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. I'm going to need to find what this measurement of angle measure is. So the angle measure is given by this function of x. So now that I know what x is, I can feed it in and get the angle measure directly. So x equals 4. So that means 20 times 4 plus 5 is equal to 85. And that is the measurement of that angle. You do a couple of these, you remember your vocabulary words and your relationships, you get through it. It starts to become routine. And honestly, I would rather you all be bored with this material than be stressed out and freaked out by it, because if you're bored, it means you understand it and you can do it really easily. Alrighty. So again, I can spot this because I've been doing these for a very long time. But I can tell immediately that these are corresponding angles. If you do not believe me or you do not think that they are corresponding angles, I don't know, send me an email explaining why, but I'm going to say that they are corresponding angles because when I draw my F all the way up here, this first tang goes out, this second tang goes out, they're in the same relative positions of the F when I draw it out. So I know they're corresponding angles. Because they're corresponding angles on two parallel lines, that means that they are equal to one another. So 6x plus 5x equals 5x plus 10. Alrighty, well, I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides, and that's going to give me x equals 10. Alright, we're in pretty good shape so far. Since I know that x equals 10, I'm just going to feed it back into the easiest possible equation, 6x. Therefore, this angle is equal to 6 times 10, which is equal to 60. And we were asked to find, this angle. I forgot to include that, but we were asked to find this angle. So we solved through, found that x equals 10, plugged 10 back in to 6 times x for that angle, and that gave us 60. So there we go. Alrighty, last one for the review. Alright. So, we're down to our last one for the review sheet. We have x plus 109 and x plus 89. Now again, because they are on the same side of the traversal, we know that they're going to be consecutive angles. Whether they're interior or exterior, it doesn't matter. Consecutive interior angles and consecutive exterior angles are both supplementary. So what that means is when you add these two together, you're going to get 180. So 180 equals x plus 109, I see a problem already, plus x plus 89. So that means 2x equals, because x plus x is going to equal 180 minus 109 minus 89. Yeah, 2x equals negative 18, therefore x equals negative 9. Now I just surrounded it not because that's my final answer, but because it makes it easier to see. So if I need to know what this one is, I know that x equals negative 9, so I'm going to plug it in. Negative 9 plus 89 equals 80, and that is going to be the final angle measurement. So again, we remember that if you have a consecutive internal or a consecutive external angle, it doesn't matter. They are always going to be supplementary, provided they are on parallel lines. So these two are going to add up to be 180, solve through to find x, and then again, as soon as you find x, you can plug it into either of these equations with x in them and get the angle measurement you're looking for. I happen to be looking for this one, so I plugged x equals negative 9 back into it. Negative 9 plus 89 equals 80. That's the answer. So that should do it for the review. Best of luck with the assessment tomorrow. Not that you really need it. At this point, I'm probably desperate to try to keep you all challenged.